welcome to the Ridgway History Blitzkrieg Simulator of South Carolina, because nobody likes snow. Okay, South Carolina's fine. This simulation is going to practice what would happen if two armies met and one practices the ideas of Blitzkrieg. So let's talk about first what Blitzkrieg was and what it wasn't. Many people think that Blitzkrieg was this thing that the German High Command just acknowledged and that they all said, yeah, let's just go ahead and do Blitzkrieg. In fact, it's very, very different. Blitzkrieg was a name given by Western reporters to German strategy that was trying to explain how they were able to knock France out of the war so fast, and other countries like Poland. But actually, Blitzkrieg got its start way before World War II even began in 1941. It was practiced in the Spanish Civil War with Francisco Franco, and actually it really kind of evolved over time. So Blitzkrieg is kind of an organic thing that developed not only between the theory of what Germany was trying to accomplish in World War II, but then also like its practical applications, because you can have a grand theory and plan just like Germany had in World War I, and then things can go horribly awful and turn out not the way you wanted. To sum up, Blitzkrieg is a name given to tactics that evolved in World War II that organically kind of changed over time depending on circumstances. So again, it was kind of a learned methodology in terms of German strategy. Let's talk about the Ridgway simulator of Blitzkrieg in South Carolina. So here we have two armies, one red and one purple, that are going to clash. In World War I, okay, assume that we don't have any planes at this time. There were planes in World War I, but they really weren't used in the way that we're going to simulate here. We would get these awful trench lines that would develop between two sides, because they would butt heads with each other, they would try to outflank each other, and then we would get that so-called race to the sea. So we get these mass frontal charges that really just try to go across here and across here, and they just don't really work, because technology has changed, but mentalities hadn't. That's not even a word. Germany developed a strategy over time, again, it organically evolved, it wasn't like, let's just do Blitzkrieg, that was supposed to address this problem. Blitzkrieg is predicated on doing a couple of things at once. So in World War I, how there were only really one front that people were attacking across, Blitzkrieg is about creating as much confusion as possible while still trying to accomplish that, attacking one objective just like in World War I. So the idea is basically this. You're going to attack in lots of different places, using lots of different methods, and you're going to do this all at the same time, synchronized. And the idea is that you create as much confusion as possible, people get cut off, they don't know what's going on, and therefore you end up basically accomplishing your objective because the other army just kind of has a nervous panic breakdown. We're going to assume here that red is going to be trying to attack this purple city that's right up here in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Alright, we're just going to assume that's an awful city in South Carolina, because it's South Carolina, who are we kidding? Here we have infantry, which you can see circled right here. We have tanks, we have artillery, and then we have planes. But you're going to notice that these things do very, very different things compared to one another. Infantry is really good about holding territory. It's not very good at attacking because infantry's kind of squishy, and tanks run over infantry, like squishy. Tanks are really good at fast capturing of territory. Airplanes, though, are really good about striking places where tanks and infantry can't get to. And the kind of artillery works very much the same way. You knock out or you pin down targets. Those four things, infantry, tanks, artillery, and planes, accomplish different objectives, and they work in different theaters. You have one that's in the air, you have one that's on the ground, and you have one kind of that's hiding back in the background. That's artillery. Okay? But they're all going to be working in concert with one another. They're literally going to be kind of like syncing up. So what we're going to be trying to accomplish is actually not too complicated in practice. We're going to simply be trying to take that purple city. And so what's going to happen is each of our four different types are going to do something differently, but again, all at the same time. So our artillery is going to fire at certain elements here that are going to try to pin these down, okay? And this will, so for example, we're going to try to knock out tanks, or we're going to try to pin down the tanks. So the tanks of the purple side aren't useful. At the same time that artillery bombardment happens, these tanks, okay, that we have right here, let's just say they all decide they're going to charge this particular gap that has been opened up by knocking out these tanks, okay? And what they're going to do is they're going to crash through here, and they are going to cut off, okay, this particular army, and they're going to split it in two. as you can see on the map. At the same time that's happening, our artilleries are pinning down the tanks, we have our tanks rushing through the gap the artillery just created, our infantry is going to be engaging the other infantry right here, okay, and maybe these guys are also moving in this direction. Our planes are going to be knocking out air bases that the other side has. Now, if this is all happening at the exact same time, this is really, really overwhelming. You've just had the center of your line destroyed by a whole bunch of artillery. At the same time, tanks are charging through there. These guys up here are totally cut off from the rest of the people that are in, southeast South Carolina. All of a sudden, there is a wide open angle into getting in towards this city right here. And again, this is incredibly confusing for the other side. How can you possibly, tell while this is all going on simultaneously that people need to fill gaps and plug holes? It's really, really hard. And basically what happens is there's a gigantic panic attack. Yes, Jamie, what's up? Did I say something wrong? Did I mess up? I just want to check in. This is overwhelming for the other side, and it's really, really hard to deal with. And basically, what happens is the other side just kind of suffers a panic attack and falls apart. Okay? Let's show a different example, just for the sake of fun. So let's just take another example and assume this time that neither side has artillery. We can still illustrate the same point pretty darn well. Let's say in this case that we're going to cause the exact same kind of panic and confusion, but in a totally different way. And again, this would depend on the military commanders at the time, because again, Blitzkrieg is this organic strategy that develops, and maybe situations change. This time, instead of trying to punch a hole through the center, they're going to do what's called a pincer movement. What would happen here is, let's say these three groups over here are going to swing around and hit these guys from the side. So we've created a front, basically, over here. At the same time, this group is going to swing around and hit from the bottom. Okay, to help add even further confusion, our planes are going to knock out the tanks that are here in the very center. We are going to have basically two columns coming around and pinching this city from two different angles at the exact same time. This also causes a lot of problems, because what does the commander do? Does he send his planes to go over here and assist, and then possibly lose the center if one of these armored regiments comes through? Does he also send his other planes down here to support these troops, and then again risk that somebody plunges through the center here? This is, again, a lot of decisions that a military commander has to make. And again, because this is all happening simultaneously, it's really, really overwhelming and causes a nervous breakdown. This is a kind of a very simplistic explanation of how Blitzkrieg works. So again, main principles: all of your different four elements, artillery, tanks, infantry, and airplanes, are working together all in the same theater. It's all the same theater, all four working together. Number two, the point of it is to cause mass confusion, the enemy to basically have a panic attack and fall apart. And then number three, I don't remember what number three was. But that's all the time I have for Ridgway History today. If you like this video, check out some of the other videos I have here on the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!